Coming up, the Pittsburgh police team up with the Crawford County Sheriff's Office to apprehend a man after a car chase.
From our watches, warnings, and advisories, we sit back and await our winter weather as it'll be here by the time we get to tonight. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, while many schools in the area have once again temporarily shut down due to COVID-19 concerns, we'll tell you about one school that's keeping its doors open.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
And
we got some winter weather.
And it was a matter of time before our counties ended up color-coded, Bronte. If you remember right, yesterday, it was everybody up to the north and down to the southeast that had already put the winter weather advisories, winter storm watches, and high wind advisories in effect, and that's exactly where we find ourselves on this Friday morning. Now remember, it's not going to be here until tonight, but no surprise that eventually the winter weather advisories indicated in the purple right there. Drop down here in the northwest Arkansas, that's a winter weather watch, and then we've got the high wind advisory throughout northeast Oklahoma as well. Winter storm warnings up there indicated in the pink. So for our Skywatch storm tracker, the only big change we have from yesterday is really just the cloud cover. Moved in overnight, but now we're beginning to see the storm formulate, moving just on the other side of the Canadian border. They'll get anywhere from 6 to 12 inches on the far reaches of the northern plains, and then it breaks up a little bit as it makes its way toward us. But an indicator that she is on the move on this Friday morning. Weather trend for today, still going to be able to make it up into the mid-50s even with that cloud cover. So once again, abnormally above our daily high. Should only be about 44 this time of year. Let's get into our future track because rain will start up to the north right there. Should be good for the evening commute. But then as we get into Friday night and we begin to see the widespread rain, we see a sliver of the freezing rain right there along that dividing line that's indicated in the pink early Saturday morning, and not quite done because even after sunrise on Saturday, it begins to fall back down from north to south. So we're going to see places that get 1 to 2 inches of accumulation, and then chilly after that. Look at that overnight low in between Saturday and Sunday, dropping down to the teens. Rebound, get up into the high 30s there on Sunday. Yes, I did check the weather for Kansas City. They're going to get snow on Saturday, but they'll have Arrowhead Stadium cleaned off before the Chiefs game on Sunday. So Mother Nature really not going to play a role as far as that football game goes other than it being cold.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Michael. Police in Pittsburgh and the Crawford County Sheriff's Office worked together to arrest a Pittsburgh man who led officers on a chase. Authorities say officers spotted 27-year-old Sage Sprague in a car on East 21st Street and knew he had multiple outstanding warrants. When officers tried to pull the car over, the car sped away. The chase went through Pittsburgh, then left the city, which is when a sheriff's deputy joined in, then went back into Pittsburgh before Sprague's car hit the deputy's vehicle. The chase stopped a short time later and authorities arrested Sprague. An Nevada, Missouri business owner admits failing to pay taxes on nearly $1.5 million of income. 53-year-old Kevin Morrow pleads guilty to filing a false tax return. Morrow omitted nearly $1.5 million in income from the federal income tax returns he filed from 2014 through 2016. During that time, Morrow operated Morrow Show Steers, a cattle sale business. Under federal statutes, Morrow could get up to 3 years in federal prison without parole. The Joplin School District becomes the latest to cancel classes for today. The district sent out messages to parents yesterday letting them know classes are canceled for today so crews can deep clean the buildings. Officials say the classes will be made up on May 25th. As schools across the area continue to shut down due to staffing shortages, some remain open. The Junction School District is among the few still holding in-person classes. Superintendent Dr. Phil Cook says the district looks at a number of factors in determining whether to close. Right now, Cook says the district has enough staff and attendance numbers still look good.
I hope that they have some trust in us and that we have a track record of making decisions based upon, like I said, common sense, what's good for our kids and what's good for our community's safety.
Junction is holding classes today. Other districts that have canceled say they plan to return to class on Tuesday following the upcoming holiday on Monday. The U.S. Supreme Court has stopped the Biden administration from enforcing a vaccine requirement for large businesses. The mandate required employees of businesses with more than 100 workers to be vaccinated or undergo weekly testing and wear a mask on the job. But the High Court ruled on Thursday that the White House has overstepped its authority with the mandate, which would have affected more than 80 million Americans. However, the court is still allowing the mandate for most healthcare workers in the U.S. In response to the ruling, the Attorneys General of Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma released statements. Missouri AG Eric Schmidt's statement reads in part, Missouri was the first state to file suit against the OSHA private employer mandate, and I'm proud to have delivered this critical decision for Missourians and Americans, and to hand the Biden administration its biggest loss to date. Kansas Attorney General Derek Schmidt says in part, the disappointing decision to uphold for now the mandate that healthcare workers be vaccinated is likely to aggravate the shortage of nurses and other healthcare professionals that already is causing serious disruption to the delivery of care throughout our state. And in Oklahoma, Attorney General John O'Connor's statement reads in part, the state of Oklahoma is pleased the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the states challenging the OSHA vaccine mandate on private businesses. Now, individuals who work in the private sector can make healthcare decisions for themselves and their families, as it should be. This is a major win for job creators and their employees. People in Joplin had a chance to responsibly enjoy a beer and responsibly adopt a pet for free. The Chaos Brewing Company on South Main Street called the event Bark Brew. Chaos invited some pets from the Joplin Humane Society, nice enough to cover the $10 adoption fee, and also offered a free beer.
An opportunity to interact with the animals in a way that they otherwise wouldn't. They can come here, they might feel more comfortable coming to a bar to meet someone. That's something people do apparently, versus having to make an appointment or take the time out of your day to go out to the Humane Society. So instead of having to make that trip, you can just come here on your way home and maybe meet someone who you're going to fall in love with.
The Joplin Humane Society always reminds people to think before they adopt and make sure they have resources for taking care of a pet long term. Well, it is 5:07.
Low to mid 30s. Speaking of 7, how about 37 in both Neosho and Monette? Let's roll 35 in Joplin and Chanute, 34 right now in Miami. And remember, we've got the winter storm advisory that is in effect right now all the way until Saturday morning, as we will start with rain, flip that over to snow for early Saturday, and we'll talk accumulation numbers here when I see you in a bit.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Pittsburgh State hosted a doubleheader last night against Emporia State. We'll let you know how the Gorillas did on the men's and women's side. Plus, there's a world game craze making its rounds on the internet. But what we want to know is, how do you spend most of your time on the internet? And masks have become a part of our lives in the past 2 years, but not all masks work as well as others. We've got some advice coming up for which masks do a better job. You're watching the KOAM Morning News, more real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Both Pittsburgh State and Missouri Southern back on the floor last night at home. MIAA League play. Gorillas hosting a doubleheader against Emporia State. And we'll start on the women's side as PSU trying to avoid a 3-game losing streak, pick up that first win of 2022. First quarter, Tristan Gagg to Karina Gerber. Gerber strong to the hole with a lay-in. 25 assists for PSU last night. Sydney Crane beats the clock, drains the 3, closes out the first quarter. 10 points, 8 assists for Crane. Then Erin Davis cornered 3. She had 12, and right before the break, Gagg with another 3. 46-29 lead for the Gorillas. Let's go to the third quarter. Davis to Gerber, the freshman. She had a double-double, career-high 19 points to go along with 10 rebounds. Back to Tristan Gagg, long range. Gagg has 17 last night. Pitt State rolls by Emporia State 82-56 in their first game in 10 days.
We really went hard at practice. You said 10 days. I didn't realize it was that long. 10 days of not playing. We had people out for COVID, so we were only down to 9 practicing for about 4 days. So it was hard, but it was good, what we needed. And we watched a lot of film on bad culture on our past games, and we lost 3 in a row. So I think that us having the best culture we've had for this game really boosted us up to win by that much. So it was an awesome team win.
As for the PSU men, they're 3-5 in the MIAA, trying to climb closer to 500 against the Hornets. Good start for the Gorillas. Isaiah James with a 3-pointer puts PSU up 7-3 early. A few minutes later, Brendan Van Dyke. Oh, this is his own follow, too. Hornets grabbed their first lead, but on the other end, 3-ball keeping Pitt State in it for a while. Dejon Waters connects from deep. Then James again. James with a team-high 17. Final 3 minutes of the first half. Trey Buchanan plays Beat the Buzzer. Hornets outscore the Gorillas 14-1 in the final 3.5 minutes of the first half, and don't look back as Emporia State wins it 74-59. Missouri Southern Lions welcoming in the Washburn Ichabods. Southern women aiming for back-to-back wins. Just beat Northeastern State a few days ago. Lions 8-5, including 5-3 in the MIAA. Early on, Amaya Johns lines it up. That's worth 3. Johns with 15 on the night. Southern stepping out again, this time Haley Grant. Great night for Grant. 12 points, 13 rebounds. Second half, Washburn trying to stick around. Hunter Bentley knocks it down. Ichabods get within 7, but the Lions finish it off. Brooke Stauffer. That right there puts the Lions up 17. Missouri Southern wins it big, 69-50.
Haley was huge. She came in as far as rebounding. She was going up and she was chasing rebounds. I told her there at the end of the game, I said, that's the kid I recruited out of high school because she has that capability.
This one felt really good. I think this is my first win against Washburn since being here, so it felt good to finally get a win at home. It's nice to get back rolling and playing our style of basketball.
Men's game at Leggett and Platt. As Southern looks for its 3rd straight win in the first, Southern moving the ball around. Winston Desisau, uncontested. He had 15 on the move. Stan Scott. Oh, one-handed. Scott in double digits. Southern getting the energy up late in the first half. Big man outside for Washburn. Jeremy Harrell sinks the 3 early in the second. The Southern in transition. Watch this. Oh! Let's have some fun out there. Avery Taggart finishes it off. But Washburn able to keep Southern at arm's length and wins this thing 87-72. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News. Germany sentences a former Syrian colonel of the al-Assad regime to life in prison. We're going to find out why. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Sports live here. KOAM.
5:17 on this Friday morning. Roll some weather on the 7s. Enough talking about it, because that's what we've been doing for 3 days. Now she's finally in motion as the winter storm gathered on the other side of the Canadian border, now pushing its way through the far upper plains. This thing's already dropped 3 inches of snow there in North Dakota. I think the main thing for this morning that we're noticing is it's pushing off a little bit to the east, southeast, compared to dropping straight down. But trust me, it's going to be here for us by the time we get to tonight into tomorrow morning. That being said, great looking Friday morning, 36 degrees in Joplin, 32 right now in Pittsburgh. Let's roll 37s out in Monette and Cassville and throw 34 in Neodesha and Miami. Now the watches and warnings now include us. Yesterday we stayed out of it, but it was simply a matter of time before the National Weather Service went ahead and threw us up a winter weather advisory. That's indicated there in the purple. The white that you see, they call that a special weather statement. It's the equivalent of, hey, heads up, because that is a winter storm watch that they have down here, and also a high wind advisory. So it's kind of a combo of a couple things to keep our eyes on as we transition into the weekend. Here is the idea of the storm kind of falling down on the jet stream right there. It could end up in the deep south as far as its southerly penetration. But for us today, a little rain hanging off out in West Kansas is about it. Mostly cloudy skies are going to stick around all day, but still mid-50s even with the cloud cover. That's hard to beat for this time of year. So let's go ahead and jump into Future Track and talk about what will be on us after sunset tonight. Friday evening commute should be just fine. A little rain to the north is where we begin with. And then the closer we get to midnight, that's where we see it transition over into snow. Sweeps in originally from the west, but then as we approach sunrise on Saturday, almost stalls out falls back down on us, especially if you get into the eastern portion of southwest Missouri. Higher elevations stretch into the Ozarks right there is where we'll actually see the most snow. Turn out to the west right here ends up being a dusting anywhere probably less than an inch. It's going to be chilly Saturday night into Sunday as well. Overnight low dropping into the teens. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. If you're wondering what those green and yellow tiles are over your social media feeds, it's called Wordle. And if you have not heard about it yet, you're going to soon. It's a new online game that's quickly becoming a sensation, and as Aaron Collins shows us, it's also seen by many as an ideal pandemic pastime.
For millions around the world, this is a new part of their daily routine.
That's not how you spell vapor, but I'm gonna do it anyways.
Wordle. 6 chances to guess a 5-letter word, but the online game has a catch. Just 1 word, 1 puzzle per day.
It's almost like that economy of not having too much, right? Just giving you a little bit of a snippet.
At this board game cafe, Wordle's concept immediately familiar.
Seems like it's based on like a really old game like Mastermind and Boggle, but it's like mashed up together.
A new take on older games, but some enigmatologists, that's a puzzle expert, say it's a perfect fit for the pandemic.
It's like, okay, this is my new ritual every morning. Maybe it's my cup of coffee and just kind of doing this. Okay, I'm ready for this. I did really well. I'm ready to do my work at home, or I'm ready to kind of go on with my day.
Of course, before players do that, many brag online to friends and family about how they did.
And as soon as you share your results, everyone's like, oh, hey, I could try that. And how come it took me 6 tries? And, how are you doing this?
You feel like you're part of this bigger thing because I know it's taken off.
Wordle got so big, copycat games began to spring up. Apple stepped in, removing them from its app store, ensuring Wordle fans will still be limited to 1 word per day, a way to help weather the pandemic, according to this gaming expert.
Break a negative cognitive thinking state that you're in and distract yourself for a short while with something that can help you enter a more positive state.
Well, back at the cafe, that idea rings true.
What's the alternative? Just being at home watching Netflix? You can only do that for so long until you kind of go crazy and you run out of stuff to play, right?
Well, turns out games is a 5-letter word helping many navigate these complex times.
Even the game's name is a play on words. You see, Wordle was created by software engineer Josh Wardle. Comes with no pop-up ads, no pesky login information, no cash grabs. Wardle says he does not have to charge people to play the game and wants to keep it that way. Our question for you this morning, how do you spend most of your time on the internet? Gave you about 5 different options there. Connect to us at koamnewsnow.com/vote or via our Facebook page. Be back with Health Watch next.
Kramer's Meats.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a new study shows more likely to experience severe COVID-19 symptoms in newborn deaths. Researchers in Scotland looked at about 5,000 pregnant women with COVID-19 infections over 11 months. Most participated were unvaccinated women who hadn't gotten their shots, were about 4 times more likely to end up in the hospital with COVID-19. They were more than twice as likely to experience stillbirths or infant fatalities within 28 days of birth. Health experts agree that masking is one of the keys to preventing the spread of the coronavirus, along with vaccines and social distancing. But which masks do a better job? Brian Todd has the answers.
Effort to stem confusion about mask wearing during the pandemic. The CDC expected to update its guidance on the best masks to wear soon. The CDC and local health officials have recently said that N95 and KN95 masks appear to give you the most protection against the surging Omicron variant.
We should be wearing the best possible mask that we can get. That's a fact.
Dr. Anthony Fauci and other top officials say N95s and KN95s work better than those standard 3-ply surgical masks many people have worn, and much better than cloth masks. How? One group of experts comparing leakage from masks found cloth masks can leak 75% in and out, surgical masks only 50%, and N95 masks as low as 1 to 10% if correctly fitted.
You do want to make sure that they fit properly, so you don't want air sort of escaping from the sides, underneath, or around the eyes, so you got to make sure it's really snug. But it's an effective mask. That's the thing.
One expert says N95s are very similar to KN95s because they both have high efficiency filters, but the N95 has a slight edge over the KN95.
It provides a better fit to your face. If a mask doesn't fit your face well, it's going to leak.
Another key question, can you wear an N95 or a KN95 more than once? Yes, says one expert.
You can wear an N95. A rule of thumb is about up to 40 hours of use. The filter in an N95 respirator does not go bad for days to weeks.
Experts now say with Omicron, it's high time to upgrade from cloth.
Cloth masks are little more than facial decorations. There's no place for them in light of Omicron.
Some health experts believe there's been way too much confusion over mask wearing and the messaging on it throughout the pandemic.
We should not have any confusion over mask wearing. This is confusion that we ourselves, the frontline workers, the government, public health experts, doctors, nurses, and other influential people when it comes to infection prevention control have actually created because we haven't got on the same page on what works and what doesn't work and what works based on evidence.
Experts say to reuse an N95 mask as safely as possible. Avoid touching the outer part of the mask when putting it on. Instead, they say to try to handle the mask by its edges or straps. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back after the break.
At Hardee's, there's
Police team up with the Crawford County Sheriff's Office to apprehend a man after a car chase.
Even with mostly cloudy skies on a Friday, it's not going to be too bad, but we also know winter weathers are coming for Saturday. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, while many schools in the area have once again temporarily shut down due to COVID-19 concerns, we'll tell you about one school that's keeping its doors open.
the 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. We'll get to those stories in just a bit, but first let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Big
Michael?
change for today, Bronte. No more sunshine when it hits about 7:31. Those clouds, they moved in overnight. Now, at the same point in time, we stay dry. No worries on our Friday morning commute, but the radar shows you the cloud cover that is now entrenched most of the Midwest. That's the big one that we're paying attention to right there. Already dropping snow in the far northern plains, as much as 3 inches already accumulating in North Dakota. We won't get that high by any means. Our temperatures right now, anywhere from 36 in Joplin, 35 in Iola, and 34 in Miami. We do have a winter weather advisory in effect for our counties in purple, lasting until Saturday morning. The white counties indicating a special weather statement, kind of a combo, not only the winter weather watch, but also high wind advisory throughout northeast Oklahoma. Weather trend for today, still able to make it up into the mid-50s. That's not too bad considering there won't be a whole lot of sunshine. And then we get ready for tonight. Develops first as rain as we get past sunset Friday evening. Then we're going to flip on over to snow the closer that we get into Saturday. Early Saturday morning, we see it falling pretty good clip. And then even after sunrise on Saturday, it continues to come down from the north, especially when we talk about the eastern portion of southwest Missouri, pushing off into the Ozarks into some elevated areas. Farther west that you go, less snow you're going to see. Farther east that you go, gets a little deeper on you. And then Saturday into Sunday, my goodness, that's going to be cold, dropping down to about 16 degrees.
Thanks, Michael. Police in Pittsburgh and the Crawford County Sheriff's Office worked together to arrest a Pittsburgh man who led officers on a chase. Authorities say officers spotted 27-year-old Sage Sprague in a car on East 21st Street and knew he had multiple outstanding warrants. When an officer tried to pull the car over, the car sped away. The chase went through Pittsburgh, then left the city, which is when a sheriff's deputy joined in, then went back to Pittsburgh before Sprague's car hit the deputy's vehicle. The chase stopped a short time later and authorities arrested Sprague. A Nevada, Missouri business owner admits failing to pay taxes on nearly $1.5 million of income. 53-year-old Kevin Morrow pleads guilty to filing a false tax return. Morrow omitted nearly $1.5 million in income from the federal income tax returns he filed from 2014 through 2016. During that time, Morrow operated Morrow Show Steers, a cattle sale business. Under federal statutes, Morrow could get up to 3 years in federal prison without parole. The Parsons, Kansas Police Department is making changes to its protocols for the next month. When it comes to cold calls and crimes against property without evidence, officers will now take those reports over the phone when possible, rather than in person. Also, VIN inspections and fingerprinting for licensing are suspended for the next 30 days. Officials say the changes are a result of rising COVID cases within the department. Missouri Southern is temporarily changing its masking guidance. The university is requiring masks be worn in classrooms, meetings where social distancing is not possible, the Wilcox and Health Center, and the Lion Club Academy. Everywhere else, the school says masking is optional. Officials say the changes are due to a rise in area COVID cases. No word on how long the new guidance will last. The Joplin School District becomes the latest to cancel classes for today. The district sent out messages to parents yesterday letting them know classes are canceled for today so crews can deep clean the buildings. Officials say the classes will be made up on May 25th. While a lot of districts are halting in-person learning, some schools are still in session. KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with one of those districts and has more.
Only a small number of districts in our area are still in session Friday, as so many others have canceled classes. But it's not always because of a COVID outbreak within the districts themselves. It's a staffing shortage from teachers and other staff doing the right thing and staying home when they're not feeling well. The Carl Junction R1 district is one of the few still staffed enough to hold classes.
We seem to be holding our own in that area. We are down a few staff members, but again, it's not out of normal for this time of year.
CJ Superintendent Dr. Phil Cook says they look at a number of factors to determine whether or not they'll cancel classes. One of those is attendance numbers. Cook says the district plan is if they drop below 80%, they'll cancel.
And again, 80 is an arbitrary number. It's more just what do you feel in your gut, and what you feel in your heart is the right thing for the safety of our kids.
Right now, Cook says they're just below 90% attendance, and they're watching it closely. While they're still open, they are facing some staffing shortages. Cook says the most impacted building is the K through first grade building.
Our other buildings have been helping out, sending some folks over to help cover where needed, and it's kind of a team effort. And we're all putting in where we need to and helping out and keep our doors open for our kids to come to school.
Cook says more than 70% of the staff is vaccinated, and that, coupled in with cleaning, is keeping COVID numbers low in the district. When asked if the district has been facing pressure from the community with other districts closing, Cook says he hasn't heard any negative feedback.
I hope that they have some trust in us and that we have a track record of making decisions based upon, like I said, common sense, what's good for our kids and what's good for our community's safety.
In Carl Junction, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Carl Junction is holding classes today. Other districts that have canceled say they're planning to return to class on Tuesday, following the upcoming holiday on Monday. And now here's Michael with a look at your forecast.
Temperature's really not too bad. That's thanks in part to some overnight cloud cover, so we're right at, if not above, freezing mark. We've been throwing up some 38s in Neosho and in Chanute. Now remember, afternoon plan are not too bad, but as we work toward tonight, we do have a winter weather advisory, an indicator of that large winter storm that's still in the upper plains right now is going to fall down, head our way, and follow that up with cold temps, 16 degrees Saturday night into Sunday morning.
That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. We'll take you to a hockey rink in Madison Lake, Minnesota that's family run and free of charge. The community refers to it as the Rink of Dreams. Plus, the latest COVID surge in China has many cities still under lockdown, which is making safe Olympic preparations difficult. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News, more real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
At Affordable Dent.
Topping World Watch, a sliver of justice finally today for victims of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's murderous assaults against his own people. In the first ever torture trial against Assad's regime, a German court has sentenced a former Syrian army colonel to life in prison for crimes against humanity. Before he fled Syria and its civil war in 2012, Anwar Ralsan headed a feared investigation unit at a notorious Damascus detention center known as Branch 251. Prosecutors say at least 4,000 people were tortured there and dozens were killed. During the trial, several survivors took the stand to face Ruslan. They described how they were abused, tortured, and starved. The Australian Open will cap ticket sales at 50%. Organizers say the move is to ensure the health of fans, but ticket holders will still be allowed in if more than 50% of seats in the venue were sold for particular matches. Fans will also have to wear masks and obey social distancing measures. COVID-19 cases are rising in Australia. The Australian Open starts this Monday and runs through the 30th of January. The Winter Olympics are just weeks away, but a surge of COVID cases in China has millions under lockdowns. Olympic organizers say they're confident the Games can take place safely. Alex Hogan has more.
Just an hour from Beijing, the city of Tianjin, China, mostly shut down on Thursday. Government officials suspended trains, taxis, and ride-hailing services to other cities. Highways closed and flights canceled. It's one of half a dozen cities in China under strict lockdowns as the Delta and Omicron variant threatens to impact the Beijing Winter Olympics. But former U.S. Olympic Committee member Gene Murphy says the world needs the Games now more than ever.
It is such a relief with the world pandemic going on to have an opportunity to showcase the world's best, and get people out of isolation, viewing the excitement.
During the Tokyo Summer Olympics, vaccinations and masking prevented widespread transmission at the Games themselves. But Beijing's COVID rules will be even stricter. The Olympics are being held under a closed-loop system for athletes, coaches, and media traveling to China. They'll be allowed to move within a strict bubble, separate from the rest of the country. Anyone who leaves that environment will be subject to a 3-week quarantine.
The rules are really designed to protect everyone, to make sure that the roles can be fulfilled.
If COVID transmission happens within that bubble, Olympic officials are leaving their options open for more preventative measures.
If mass cluster transmission happens, it will impact the Games and the schedule for sure.
The Games begin next month, and so far, Olympic organizers have not said whether they're considering a postponement.
That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. And now let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Bronte, this morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, talking about spending time on the internet, as the internet has kicked off a bunch of memorable and not so memorable trends. The latest is a word game. It's called Wordle. Maybe you've seen it as the ideal pandemic pastime. Simply enough, you've got 6 chances to guess a 5-letter word. Here's the catch. There's only one puzzle per day. If you like word games or just brain teasers in general, it's a new take on some older games. Copycats already popping up, but the one thing that sets Wordle apart is its creator has no plans to charge any money for the game, adding to its popularity. Our question for you this morning is, how do you spend most of your time on the internet? Right now, 40% of you say it's for the games, and only 10% social media, and only 10% work. 40% go with the vaunted other. You can take part each and every morning. There's our Facebook page, KOAM News Now. You can go directly to the poll, koamnewsnow.com/vote, or if you've got your phone handy, all you need to do is take a picture of our QR code, and that's going to deliver you to the Insta poll each and every morning. We'll pop this up a couple more times throughout the course of the show, so don't feel the need to scramble for the phone if you don't have it on you right now. We're going to come back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
KOAM TV is looking.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Police in Pittsburgh and the Crawford County Sheriff's Office worked together to arrest a Pittsburgh man who led officers on a chase. Authorities say officers spotted 27-year-old Sage Sprague in a car on East 21st Street and knew he had multiple outstanding warrants. When officers tried to pull the car over, the car sped away. The chase went through Pittsburgh, then left the city, which is when a sheriff deputy joined in, then went back to Pittsburgh before Sprague's car hit the deputy's vehicle. The chase stopped a short time later and authorities arrested Sprague. A Nevada, Missouri business owner admits failing to pay taxes on nearly $1.5 million of income. 53-year-old Kevin Morrow pleads guilty to filing a false tax return. Morrow omitted nearly $1.5 million in income from the federal income tax returns he filed from 2014 through 2016. During that time, Morrow operated Morrow Show Steers, a cattle sale business. Under federal statutes, Morrow could get up to 3 years in federal prison without parole. The Parsons, Kansas Police Department is making changes to its protocol for the next month. When it comes to cold calls and crimes against property without evidence, officers will now take those reports over the phone when possible, rather than in person. Also, VIN inspections and fingerprinting for licensing are suspended for the next 30 days. Officials say the changes are a result of rising COVID cases within the department. People in Joplin had a chance to responsibly enjoy a beer and responsibly adopt a pet for free. The Chaos Brewing Company on South Main Street called the event Bark Brew. Chaos invited some pets from the Joplin Humane Society, covered the $10 adoption fee, and also offered a free beer. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Get those dogs a nice, warm, cozy home before that winter storm hits. So that'd be a great idea. Skywatch Storm Tracker for our Friday morning. Big difference between today and the rest of the week is really the cloud cover. Now, one thing it did do, it kept us from dropping down into the 20s as well, but we're not going to see much sunshine with sunrise officially over Joplin at 7:31, and it's all eyes up to the north as the winter storm that we've been anticipating really has come to fruition, now making its way across the Canadian border into the upper plains. Has already dropped a fair amount of snow through the Dakotas and is moving from north to south. Our temperatures right now, 36 in Joplin, let's roll 35 in Neodesha. We've got Monette and Neosho already trying to crack that 40-degree mark here. 10 minutes till the top of the hour, and this afternoon still able to make it into the mid-50s with just a little southerly breeze at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So as we dip into the night, we know it's going to go from rain to snow. Really shouldn't affect our evening commute. Trying to get out of work about 5, 6 o'clock, you're going to be okay. But if you've got Friday night plans, let's pay attention because the snow begins the closer we get to midnight. There's your fine line of the freezing rain right there. And then really by the time we get into sunrise on Saturday, it's all encompassed with snow. And it's going to continue into the later morning hours. We'll see some places out to the east with in excess of 2 inches of accumulation. Farther east you go in southwest Missouri, the deeper the snow. And look at that. Woo! We're going to drop down to 16 degrees overnight in between Saturday and Sunday. Be back with more KOAM morning news right after this.
The epic sell-off is on now at Furniture Row. That means epic saving.
We all know about Field of Dreams, but in Minnesota, there's also a Rink of Dreams. A hockey rink, that is. It's run and maintained by a family in Madison Lake. The rink is free of charge, just there for the benefit of the community. And it just recently reopened after being shut down last year due to the pandemic. John Lawrenson reports.
In the heart of the heartland, there's a farm that seems to fit right in.
How are you all?
Here, the Schultz family is known for producing corn, soybeans,
You know, hockey skates are not the most comfortable thing in the world either.
and plenty of ice.
In for a warm day today.
They say it's one of the first dump Zambonis, so yeah, it's pretty old.
The Zamboni is as good as a tractor, and it's just one part of what's become a hockey hub in the middle of Blue Earth County. It's a regulation-sized rink built inside a machine shed. There's even a locker room for visiting teams. Exactly how Paul Schultz dreamed it up.
He presented it to you. Did you think he was a little bit crazy for it, or what did you think?
Very much so. Very much so. But I knew how much he loved it. It's a sport we love, right?
In fact, Stacy Schultz-Pope believes her late husband Paul loved three things: his family, farming, and hockey.
Dad went and got skates for himself.
Loved the sport so much, in fact, that he wanted to give kids of all ages a free place to play. So in 2005, that's exactly what he did.
Rink of Dreams, build it and they'll come, and they've come. They've come from all over.
From Waseca, St. Peter, the Twin Cities, and beyond. It's been that way now for more than 15 years. But sadly, Paul only got to see the first year of the rink's success. In 2006, he died unexpectedly of a heart attack while farming.
I ran green cart, he ran combine, and it was a great way to bring up kids. And he's missed very, very much, of course.
But through heartache and grief, something miraculous happened.
It's something else.
Friends, family, and even Paul's old hockey buddies stepped up to keep the rink running. Judge Schultz was just 8 years old when his father died. To him, manpower and memories are what keep it going.
I think he would want it to be in the spot that it's in right now. I mean, it wouldn't happen without everybody that's involved in it.
That's why we keep doing it, to see the kids coming out and see the people that may not skate if it wasn't for this sheet of ice.
That includes the Reuter family.
Yeah, I didn't realize how cool it was going to be.
Prior to our kids coming out here, they'd never skated before. My husband and I were not skaters, and now one of them's playing hockey. All of them are into skating.
Exactly what Paul had in mind. There's little doubt he'd be proud of what's happened on the ice and what's happened off it. Last year, Judd used the building his father built to propose to his girlfriend.
We always say he's smiling down on this building here, smiling down on the kids that come through. It's pretty neat. It is amazing to see, and even after all these years, it is super special.
We'll be back with another look at your forecast right after the break.
Let's start with where we stand right now. We've got a couple places trying to get up to 40 here before sunrise. That's going to be a 39 in Monette, 38 in Neosho, though Yates Center and Chanute in at 38 as well. So the cloud cover kept us well above the freezing mark. Joplin sits right now at 36. Eventually, mid-50s. That's not too bad for a middle of January, but we also know that Mother Nature's going to come back and get us here tonight into tomorrow. We'll start with some rain here as we get into Friday night, and then we're going to flip over to snow as we get to midnight and into Saturday morning. And then look at that thing spread east of the Ozarks. In fact, let's talk accumulation numbers when we come back right after this.
We're here.
The weather dropping in on us from the north. We're going to have the latest watches, warnings, and advisories from the Skywatch Weather Center.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Morning news, it's 6 a.m. I'm Bronte Starowski. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Michael Hayslip with the weather.
All right, Bronte, we're tracking the big one. Now moving off the Canadian border into the contiguous 48. We're even picking up a little snow there in north central Missouri. We got a ways before it gets to us, however. One thing that we did see overnight is some cloud cover that built. Does help us out temperature-wise and keeps us out of anything freezing. We're anywhere from about 32 to 39 right now. As we get into tonight, we'll start as rain. Shouldn't really affect the commute from work. However, if you've got Friday night plans, please be apprised the snow starts off in the west and then it actually picks up in intensity as it pushes to the east, especially the higher elevations for the Ozarks right there. Instead of just continuing to the east, after we get past sunrise on Saturday, almost falls back down upon us, which is why the majority of our accumulation will be for the central and eastern portion of the 4 states. Our weather trend for today, before we get any rain or snow, still able to make it up into the mid-50s, so that's not too bad. But remember, we've got a winter weather advisory lasting all the way through tonight. That's indicated in purple. The white, a special weather statement, whether it be a winter storm watch or a high wind advisory, kind of a combo of those two. Here's a look at our snow tracker. As we mentioned, farther east and higher elevations going to get the majority of the snow. Work out to the west where it actually starts, and probably a little less than an inch. Then we work into that 1-2 inch category, and then pushing off towards Springfield. So if you got, like I said, Saturday plans there, be apprised of that situation. Look at the higher elevation down in northwest Arkansas as well. Then bundle up. Saturday night into Sunday. My goodness, drop down to about 16 degrees. Rebound on Sunday. We'll get partly sunny skies. MLK holiday pushing up close to 50 degrees right there. And after that, we'll actually be able to stay above the freezing mark for a couple of days with overnight lows in the mid-30s.
All right, thanks, Michael. A Nevada, Missouri business owner admits failing to pay taxes on nearly $1.5 million of income. 53-year-old Kevin Morrow pleads guilty to filing a false tax return. Morrow omitted nearly $1.5 million in income from the federal income tax returns he filed from 2014 through 2016. During that time, Morrow operated Morrow Show Steers, a cattle sale business. Under federal statutes, Morrow could get up to 3 years in federal prison without parole. Police in Pittsburgh and the Crawford County Sheriff's Office worked together to arrest a Pittsburgh man who led officers on a chase. Authorities say officers spotted 27-year-old Sage Sprague in a car on East 21st Street and knew he had multiple outstanding warrants. When officers tried to pull the car over, the car sped away. The chase went through Pittsburgh, then left the city, which is when a sheriff's deputy joined in. Then went back to Pittsburgh before Sprague's car hit the deputy's vehicle. The chase stopped a short time later and authorities arrested Sprague. The Parsons, Kansas Police Department is making changes to its protocols for the next month. When it comes to cold calls and crimes against property without evidence, officers will now take those reports over the phone when possible, rather than in person. Also, VIN inspections and fingerprinting for licensing are suspended for the next 30 days. Officials say the changes are a result of rising COVID cases within the department. Missouri Southern is temporarily changing its masking guidance. The university is requiring masks be worn in classrooms, meetings where social distancing is not possible, the Wilcoxon Health Center, and the Lion Club Academy. Everywhere else, the school says masking is optional. Officials say the changes are due to a rise in area COVID cases. No word on how long the new guidance will last. The Joplin School District becomes the latest to cancel classes for today. The district sent out messages to parents yesterday letting them know classes are canceled for today so crews can deep clean the buildings. Officials say the classes will be made up on May 25th. As schools across the area continue to shut down due to staffing shortages, some remain open. The Junction School District is among the few still holding in-person classes. Superintendent Dr. Phil Cook says the district looks at a number of factors in determining whether to close. Right now, Cook says the district has enough staff and attendance numbers still look good.
I hope that they have some trust in us and that we have a track record of making decisions based upon, like I said, common sense, what's good for our kids and what's good for our community safety.
Junction is holding classes today. Other districts that have canceled say they plan to return to class on Tuesday, following the upcoming holiday on Monday. And it is 6:07.
And looking at the winter weather advisory that is all-encompassing for every county of ours, even the counties in white, that is still part of a winter weather advisory and a wind advisory as well. And once again, there we are looking at that snow as it flips over from rain to snow. Our freezing rain line is pretty defined, so we're not going to get a whole lot of freezing rain. It looks like a pretty quick flip from rain into the snow on Saturday. Also, too, I wanted to point out earlier, the overnight low from Saturday into Sunday. We get out there on the roads, we're safe, you know, our vehicles kind of melt it. Watch out for that refreeze Saturday night into Sunday morning. You know, if you're on the way to church or something like that, those roads probably going to refreeze there overnight.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, a U.S. judge allows a suit against Prince Andrew to continue on. What does that mean for the prince? We'll have the details here. Plus, the U.S. healthcare system is overwhelmed by record number of COVID cases. We'll have what President Biden is doing to help try and alleviate hospitals. And do you use a space heater during the winter? We'll have tips on how to safely use one to prevent a fire in your home. You're watching the KOAM Morning News, more real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Chances are you probably...
In Consumer Watch this morning, during the cold winter months, many families plug in space heaters to get warm, but the devices lead to thousands of fires every year. Michael George has some tips to keep your family safe.
An apartment building fire in New York this week took the lives of 17 people, and investigators say the flames were started by a space heater. New York firefighters did a demonstration to show just how dangerous the appliance can be. A blanket placed on top of a heater ignited in less than 30 seconds. In less than 2 minutes, the entire room is filled with smoke and flames.
When that space heater is on, that is at least 3 to 5 feet away from anything that would burn.
Safety officials say it's also important to plug the heaters directly into the wall, not into an extension cord or power strip.
All too often, if the space heater itself doesn't go on fire, the power strip or wiring will cause a fire.
When buying a heater, experts advise getting one that will automatically shut off if it tips over, and make sure it's certified by a lab. This UL code signifies a product has been tested and certified.
Make sure that there's some basic safety protections on them, like a grid on the outside of it to protect child or pet from getting too close.
The Consumer Product Safety Commission says it's also important to check cpsc.gov for any recalls. Over the years, several heaters have been recalled for overheating. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Tech stocks were hit hard Thursday. The Dow fell 176 points. The Nasdaq dropped 381. The S&P 500 lost 67. 2 Democratic senators have introduced a bill to ban members of Congress and their families from trading stocks. The act would have them put their portfolios into a blind trust while in office. Some lawmakers have come under scrutiny for certain trades, including ones right before the coronavirus pandemic took hold. A similar Republican-sponsored bill was introduced on the same day, the key difference being it does not apply to spouses and dependent children. Nearly 66,000 people are having some of their student loans forgiven. Navient, one of the largest student loan servicers, will cancel $1.7 billion in private loans as part of a settlement. The company was accused of abusive lending practices targeting students it knew would struggle to pay them back. Apple has removed several knockoffs of the new popular game Wordle. The game, only available on the web, has players guess a 5-letter word once a day and has seen its popularity skyrocket in the past week. Several app creators tried to cash in on the craze, creating clones of the app, some even charging subscription for more plays. That's it for Consumer Watch. We'll be right back.
Winter storm that we've been talking about all week, moving pretty quick as it comes off the Canadian border right now. This is a 6-hour loop. You can tell it stretches for a number of states. It's already put down about 4 inches of snow up in North Dakota, and they've got a lot more to come as well. In the 4 states, 7th and rangeline, Joplin sits at 38 degrees. That's not too bad for a January morning. How about popping up some 41s? There we go. Neosho and Cassville, first to make it above the 40-degree mark and do so pre-sunrise. 38 right now in Chanute. Waiting on Iola, coming up next at 39. Pittsburgh and Miami sit at 34. Now, back to the winter storm. Look at the watches, warnings, advisories we've got. They stretch from border to coast. Now, everything down here, of course, is going to be associated with the wind, but all these give you an idea of the track of that system right there. You can just follow the watches and warnings before the snow even arrives. Here in the 4 states, winter weather advisory until Saturday night, indicated in purple. Down here in the white, that is also not only a winter weather advisory, but also a wind advisory for northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas. Look at the national perspective as this thing is going to drop down upon us. It's getting a little southeasterly movement in it, but you can tell there's certainly enough here left on the west side of it that we'll see our accumulation numbers increase here by Saturday late morning. Skywatch storm tracker for this Friday morning, nothing but cloud cover, and really don't have any precipitation to worry about with it, as our temperatures will be up into the high 50s. So here we roll. Friday night, we're going to start as rain as it drops in from the north. We actually see the snow begin to flip over here out to the west is where it first presents itself, and then moves from west to east, but not quite done. Watch your dividing line of freezing rain right there. Luckily, it looks like the flip from rain to snow is going to be pretty quick. But then as we get into Saturday mid-morning, instead of everything just wanting to depart, it actually drops back down on us, and that's why our accumulation numbers are a little bit more substantial as we push out on the eastern part of southwest Missouri, where we'll see some 4-inch pockets down there, and then tapering off to about 1 inch as we move on to the eastern, western part of southeast Kansas. Remember, roads have a very good chance of refreezing from Saturday night into Sunday because we're going to be down in the teens. Sunday gets us up close to 40 with partly sunny skies, and then the MLK holiday close to 50 with more sunshine. Britain's Prince Andrew faces possible trial in connection with his former friend Jeffrey Epstein. A United States judge has turned down the prince's request to throw out a lawsuit filed against him by one of Epstein's alleged sex trafficking victims. The prince's lawyers say this morning they have no comment on the ruling. Holly Williams, she's at Windsor Castle outside of London near Andrew's main residence, with the potential risk to him and the rest of the royal family.
This case is going forward, and it's going forward now.
CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleeman says this may have been Prince Andrew's last chance to get this civil suit dismissed.
The last thing that Prince Andrew wants and that the royal family would want is further publicity in this degrading saga.
His accuser is Virginia Giuffre, who claims the prince sexually assaulted her on multiple occasions when she was a teenager.
Prince Andrew should be panicking. He needs to be held accountable.
He denies it, has never been charged with a crime, and says he has no recollection of ever meeting her, despite this image of them together. Giuffre alleges she was trafficked to the prince by Jeffrey Epstein, and lawyers for Prince Andrew argued a settlement she reached with Epstein for $500,000 in 2009 shielded the British royal from legal action, but the judge ruled the case can proceed. As a UK resident, Prince Andrew could refuse to cooperate.
We never had any sort of sexual contact, whatever.
Though that tactic may be disastrous.
Ultimately, if he refuses to give evidence, if he does not participate in this case, what would happen is the plaintiff would move for a default judgment against him for $500,000, $1 million, $10 million, whatever it would happen to be.
He was once regarded as a handsome playboy prince, but his name is now indelibly stained by his friendships with convicted sex offenders Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. On the streets of Windsor, the town dominated by the royal castle, some people are angry.
Everybody feels for the Queen a lot in this circumstance. It is her son, and of course she's going to want to protect him and her family and their privacy, but that doesn't mean you get a get-out-of-jail-free card either.
Ricky Kleeman believes Prince Andrew's best option is to try to reach a settlement with Virginia Giuffre, stopping the case going any further, but that depends on her.
I think Virginia Giuffre is determined to have her day in court, but still, there's always a magic number. For most people, there is an offer that cannot be refused unless the money means absolutely nothing to you. And perhaps for Virginia Giuffre, perhaps the money is irrelevant.
Virginia Giuffre's lawyer said on Wednesday that he believes she is not interested in a purely financial settlement, suggesting that she may only agree to settle this lawsuit if Prince Andrew acknowledges that he's done something wrong. Holly Williams, CBS News, Windsor.
Be back with more KOAM Morning News and Health Watch right after this.
Hinson Septic taken.
Topping Health Watch this morning, President Biden said he was disappointed by a Supreme Court ruling on vaccine mandates. This, as average daily hospitalizations have hit their highest point during the pandemic. The president is sending the military, medical teams to areas of the country overwhelmed by COVID. CBS's Laura Podesta has more.
The Supreme Court halted a Biden administration mandate requiring employees at large companies be vaccinated or be tested weekly.
The Supreme Court's decision on the OSHA mandate essentially means that in this pandemic, it is up to individual employers to determine whether their workplaces will be safe for employees.
The conservative-leaning court is allowing a vaccine mandate for certain healthcare facilities to continue.
There are still certain things.
Indiana labor attorney Benjamin Perry says businesses can still have their own vaccine requirements, which some, like Citigroup, Nike, United Airlines, and others, have reportedly already done.
If you don't want to get the vaccine and your employer is requiring you to do it, you're violating company policies.
The rulings come as COVID-19 is putting hospitals under duress.
If you're unvaccinated, if they test positive, you are 17 times more likely to get hospitalized.
Nationwide, 1 out of every 5 hospitals has a critical staffing shortage, and 6 states report an ICU capacity of less than 10%. Hospitals are so full that paramedics say they sometimes don't know where to take a patient.
What I thought was a busy day 4 years ago is just another day of the week now.
Yesterday, President Biden announced he's sending military medical teams to 6 states to help overwhelmed hospitals survive the surge. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
President Biden said his administration will make high-quality N95 masks available for free for all Americans. He also announced his administration is doubling its purchase of at-home rapid tests to 1 billion. And next week, a website is expected to launch so Americans can sign up to receive tests for free. A new CDC study looking at data from the 2019-2020 flu season finds the vaccine protected children from serious illness, even if they came down with a flu virus that was different from the one in the vaccine. Health experts say it's even more evidence children should get the flu shot, in addition to a COVID-19 vaccine this season. Some people infected with the coronavirus may still be able to pass it on, even after isolating past the recommended time. That's according to a new study in the Journal of Infectious Disease, which found the virus was still active in about 13% of people 10 days after a positive PCR test, posing a risk of transmission to others. Consuming artificial sweeteners during pregnancy may put your child at risk for obesity. A study of pregnant rats given products like stevia or aspartame found their offspring had higher percentages of body fat and experienced changes in their gut bacteria, which resulted in weight gain. That's a look at today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Pretty much sitting mid-30s right now. We've got a couple places creep up around 40 degrees. Of course, mostly cloudy skies, and our afternoon highs still around 50 degrees, 55 degrees. That's not too bad at all. The big changes we know are coming tonight, and it starts as rain transitions over to snow. It makes that flip pretty quickly. So we're not going to have an elongated period of freezing rain. So let's call ourselves lucky on that. But at the same point in time, do be prepared for some minor travel adjustments, especially if you're out Friday night into Saturday morning. Best thing to do may be to postpone those plans, because that snow is going to come down all Saturday morning, even into the later morning hours, with accumulation numbers anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, especially as you push off to the east. A little bit of a wet snow, and then overnight lows give that the chance to refreeze, as it's only 16 degrees between Saturday and Sunday.
In Pittsburgh for over 25 years.
Coming up, the Pittsburgh police team up with the Crawford County Sheriff's Office to apprehend a man after a car chase.
Winter weather progressing from north to south, headed toward the 4 states, but we've still got one more day of great January temps. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, while many schools in the area have once again temporarily shut down due to COVID-19 concerns, we'll tell you about one school that's keeping its doors open.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Michael Hayslip talking about this weather, or this cold weather we're about to start experiencing soon.
It's going to be a drastic change here. Now, this is the interesting part as far as our morning goes. Yeah, we've been eyeballing this for about 3 days, Bronte, waiting for this to develop. We know it was coming. Our timing has been very, very consistent this week. Yet at the same point, we're not seeing a huge drop in temperatures yet. Even in the upper Midwest here, we've got Des Moines sitting at 31 degrees. That's certainly not too bad. And so the cold, the real cold, really isn't going to present itself until we get into Saturday evening. But of course, we're going to have the rain and the snow before we get there. Temperatures ranging from high 30s to low 40s throughout most of the Midwest, and doing so with substantial cloud cover that moved in overnight. So here she is right here. She has grown in length, especially from a north-south perspective, where we see even some light snow coming down, beginning to come down there in north central Missouri. But granted, we've got plenty of time before it gets to us. We had a couple 40s up here earlier. Monette now back down to 39 along with Iola. Let's roll 38 in Joplin and 35 in Pittsburgh. Miami right there at 34. As we progress into the evening hours, like I said, it won't be on us till after we get in to Friday night right there. And of course, we've got our fine line right there where it flips over, the pink indicating a little bit of the freezing rain. But you notice the flip actually happens pretty quick. So we'll go from rain to snow there early Saturday morning, and it'll take us into late Saturday morning as well as it continues, especially when it gets off to the east right here and then falls back down on us into Saturday afternoon. If you farther east you live, you could see this all the way into Saturday evening, and it's going to be a little bit of a wet snow as well. So enjoy an afternoon, because this will be the last time that we've got temperatures that have been like this, as indicated when you throw up a winter weather advisory. And there we are with those accumulation numbers. That's what I was talking about, and push out to the east, because that may last just a little bit longer. And of course, then you've got your elevated areas up through portions just to the east of our county. Of course, our eastern counties of southwest Missouri, we start to work up into that elevation as well. And then it's going to refreeze. That's fear number 2 that I have right now, is Saturday into Sunday, dropping down to 16 degrees. So be prepared for that when you're out and about Sunday morning as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Something to look out for. Thanks, Michael. Police in Pittsburgh and the Crawford County Sheriff's Office worked together to arrest a Pittsburgh man who led officers on a chase. Authorities say officers spotted 27-year-old Sage Sprague in a car on East 21st Street and knew he had multiple outstanding warrants. When officers tried to pull the car over, the car sped away. The chase went through Pittsburgh, then left the city, which is when a sheriff's deputy joined in, then went back to Pittsburgh before Sprague's car hit the deputy's vehicle. The chase stopped a short time later and authorities arrested Sprague. As schools across the area continue to shut down due to staffing shortages, some remain open. The Junction School District is among the few still holding in-person classes. Superintendent Dr. Phil Cook says the district looks at a number of factors in determining whether to close. Right now, Cook says the district has enough staff and attendance numbers still look good.
I hope that they have some trust in us and that we have a track record of making decisions based upon, like I said, common sense, what's good for our kids and what's good for our community's safety.
Junction is holding classes today. Other districts that have canceled say they plan to return to class on Tuesday, following the upcoming holiday on Monday. The Parsons, Kansas Police Department is making changes to its protocols for the next month. When it comes to cold calls and crimes against property without evidence, officers will now take those reports over the phone when possible, rather than in person. Also, VIN inspections and fingerprinting for licensing are suspended for the next 30 days. Authorities say the changes are a result of rising COVID cases within the department. People in Joplin had a chance to responsibly enjoy a beer and adopt a pet for free. The Chaos Brewing Company on South Main Street called the event Bark Brew. Chaos invited some pets from the Joplin Humane Society, covered the $10 adoption fee, and also offered a free beer.
An opportunity to interact with the animals in a way that they otherwise wouldn't. They can come here, they might feel more comfortable coming to a bar to meet someone. That's something people do apparently, versus having to make an appointment or take the time out of your day to go out to the Humane Society. So instead of having to make that trip, you can just come here on your way home and maybe meet someone who you're going to fall in love with.
The Joplin Humane Society always reminds people to think before they adopt and make sure they have resources for taking care of a pet long term. Missouri legislators are considering many big issues this session, including legislation concerning abortion. Reporter Marina Silva is at the state capitol with a breakdown of the debate.
16 bills related to abortion, and today one of those was heard in committee. It's sponsored by Representative Nick Schroer, and he tells me it's basically the same bill that was heard over the summer during special session.
Does exactly what House Bill 2 did. It fully defunds Planned Parenthood.
Representative Nick Schroer sat before the Special Committee on Government Oversight today to discuss his abortion bill. He was greeted with both supporters and opponents of the bill, which was debated for 2 hours. Representative Crystal Quaid being one who is not for the bill.
It's no secret that I myself am pro-choice, and my constituents all know that. I have never hidden that I believe that folks deserve access to health care and that folks should have control over their own medical decisions between them and their doctor.
President Biden has been saying he wants to get rid of the Hyde Amendment, which bars federal tax dollars from paying for abortions. Representative Schroer says he doesn't want that.
This would put in a state type in statute Hyde Amendment of our own to ensure that if the Hyde Amendment is overturned or if any action is taken by the federal government to require Missourians to fund abortion, that's not going to happen.
Representative Quaid says if this bill passes, Missouri could lose money in Medicaid funding.
We're putting upwards of $166 million in jeopardy for Medicaid funding for our state by passing this law. And so that was a big part of the discussion today.
Another thing brought up during committee. If a woman has a miscarriage and goes to get proper treatment, is that illegal? Representative Schroer tells me they were careful in writing the language so that that's not considered illegal. The other bills that have to do with abortion range from providing proper explanation to penalties for providers if they give an abortion. Reporting in the Capitol, I'm Marina Silva.
Now let's go over to Michael with the latest look at the forecast.
Let's run that snow tracker one more time, Bronte. See what we're anticipating as far as how much is going to fall by the time we get into Saturday afternoon and evening. Push out to the east right there. Could see anywhere from 3 to 4 inches, kind of about 1 to 3 in the central portion, about 1 inch throughout southeast Kansas. And then stressing the fact that anything that we do see melt on the road probably going to refreeze Saturday night into Sunday morning.
Let's look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Serious charges against some members of a group known as the Oath Keepers have been filed by the Department of Justice. Stick with us and we'll tell you how serious these charges are. Plus, the internet is great. You can make friends on it, you can use it to connect to family that's far away, or you can even use it just to play some games. We want to know, how do you spend your time on the internet? We'll let you weigh in. We'll be right back.
Washburn Farm and Home near Lamar.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, new developments into the sprawling investigation into the January 6th attack on the Capitol. The Justice Department, for the first time, filing the most serious charge yet against members of the Oath Keepers. Seditious conspiracy alleging the group conspired to overthrow the U.S. government with force. CBS's Jeff Pegues has all the stunning new details.
Prosecutors say the 11 Oath Keepers charged today with seditious conspiracy began planning for an attack shortly after President Biden's victory became official.
It's just amazing that Trump will let the election be stolen out from under him and then let our country be stolen like this, our government.
The far-right extremist group's notorious leader, Stuart Rhodes, a former Army paratrooper with a Yale law degree, sent a message to a group chat on November 5th. We aren't getting through this without a civil war. Over the next month, prosecutors say Rhodes, arrested today in Texas, used encrypted apps to organize the January 6th assault. Members of the Oath Keepers, outfitted in full combat gear, were seen marching in a military-style stack formation through the crowd, up the east steps of the Capitol. Prosecutors say Rhodes, who was not inside the Capitol, was directing them via cell phone and a chat app. The indictment alleges that the stack split in two once inside the Capitol, one toward the Senate chamber to disrupt the certification, and the other toward the House in search of Speaker Pelosi. Prosecutors also say Rhodes had several armed quick reaction forces on standby in Virginia that could be called in to escalate the attack. To date, about 20 Oath Keepers have been charged in connection with the insurrection.
It wasn't just an unruly mob.
Harry Littman is a former U.S. attorney.
We're past the point of seeing this as some kind of spontaneous riot and really into seeing it as an actual assault on the operation of U.S. law itself.
Rhodes' attorney disputed the allegations contained in the court documents, including the charge that after all of the violence on January 6th, some of the Oath Keepers went to a restaurant in nearby Virginia where they celebrated and allegedly planned what was going to come next. That's a look at today's top national stories. Now let's check it back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Bronte. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll, spending time on the internet as it's kicked off a bunch of memorable and some not so memorable trends. The latest, a word game called Wordle. Many see it as the ideal pandemic pastime. Simply enough, you've got 6 chances to guess a 5-letter word. Here's a catch. There's only 1 puzzle per day. If you like word games, brain teasers in general, new take on some older games. Copycats are already popping up, but what really sets Wordle apart is its creator says no plans to charge money for the game, and of course that adds to its popularity. Our question for you this morning is, how do you spend most of your time on the internet. Right now, we got 2 leaders as far as 25% go, one of those being social media, 25% with work. Now, that other, I know who's got the most, could be split up in between 18 different things for all I know, and 20% of you play games. Evidently, now that we all text each other, email, think of the past. You can connect each and every morning, either through Facebook, go straight to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or if you've got your phone handy, perhaps you were, I don't know, playing a game on social media, maybe doing some early morning work. If you take a picture of that QR code, that will deliver you to the Instapoll each and every morning. We're going to come back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first to the Big Apple, see what Gail's up to.
Hello to you, I'm Gail Kane. Coming right up on CBS Mornings, a special conversation with our Dr. John LaPook and the late Bob Saget. Hear how laughter helped the comedian through some very dark times. That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
Nominate your favorite.
We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero. Chief Petty Officer Michael Sperlin joined the military in 2001, serving in Okinawa, Japan. The Nevada, Missouri native received numerous medals, including a War of Terrorism Service Medal. We thank you, Chief Petty Officer Michael Sperlin, today's 4-state hero.
Our birthday list starts with Gunnar Reddick, who is celebrating his 7th birthday on the trampoline. Gunnar, a happy birthday to you, my man, in Chanute.
All right, next we have Devin Miller turning 8 years old, and Devin is in Girard. Happy birthday, Devin.
Now we're on to double digits because Gracie Transu is celebrating her 10th birthday. Miss Gracie, a happy birthday to you and Valida.
Turning the sweet 16, we have Brooke Rush out of Jasper.
Chad O'Banion throwing up a couple of 22s on the board right there, and in his hands is the newest addition to the O'Banion family. That is Chad's daughter, Declan Rose. And Declan was born on New Year's Eve. What a great picture right there. Chad, I want you to know this comes with love from Mama and the whole family. And thank you for sharing Declan with us as well.
All right, next.
That's Oakland Rose. You know what? So my contact was about to flip out of my eye, and I'm over here and I'm doing this, and I realized that's an O. Her name is Oakland Rose. And so, Chad, I apologize for that. I was fighting to keep a contact in, and after I got it back in and my eyes adjusted, I want to make sure I get the kiddo's name right.
There you go. Hey, next we have Daniel Moss turning 33 years old. We have, it's not just Daniel. We have,
it's a family affair when the Mosses get together.
We got Christina Joe Moss turning 34, and we also have Ethan Moss turning 13. That's Daniel and Christina's son. Those are some there's some interesting chances.
I bet you. Birthday. I bet you that Daniel and Christina, knowing them, they defer to Ethan and let this be his big celebration. Now that he's a teenager and such. Happy birthday, Moss family. Craig Condon, he is turning the big 4-0. That is not a current picture of Craig. I want to point that out. Happy 40th, Craig, and I love the throwback. I'm not sure who got you on that, but kudos to them. Craig's in Pittsburgh.
All right.
Good looking hat, though.
Yeah.
I like that.
Coming out of Erie, we have Chris Welch. He's turning 41, and not just that, he is also one of our many 4-state heroes. He was part of the Operation of Iraqi, he's an Operation of Iraqi Freedom veteran. So Chris Welch, happy birthday and thank you.
Happy birthday, Chris. That's a good looking picture too, my man. That's really cool. Dennis Blinko, our good friend Dennis, is celebrating number 79. Mr. Blinko, you know how much we all love you up here, and a happy birthday to you in Liberal.
All right, next, out of Pittsburgh, we have Nancy Jensen. It's a great photo, Nancy. Happy birthday.
This is a neat picture right here of the Schoonovers. Dalton and Molly are celebrating their 5th anniversary, and that is their new baby. Bodie right there in the middle of them. So congratulations to Dalton and Molly, not only on the anniversary, but the family edition as well. They are in Bella Vista.
All right, and then out of Parsons, we have Colton Noble turning 15 years old. Tom Brown turning 54. And you have a special message. Happy birthday from Tammy and your whole family. And then we have Christopher Morrissey out of Oklahoma City.
What biggity, OKC?
He was born in Joplin though, and his birthday was yesterday. And last, certainly not least, Mildred Ludlum turning 82 years old out of Erie.
Word travels fast down I-44. Bronte Sorotsky, you mark my words. Christopher Morrissey's going to know that we wished him happy birthday. There's only two things in life that travel faster than the speed of light.
What?
Gossip and birthday wishes from KOAM.
You're right.
Actually, I just made up the gossip part. I don't know if that part's true. Here's where you can send them into KOAM birthdays at KOAMTV.com. You can also go to our website at KOAMNewsNow.com. Now here's Bronte Sorotsky with a very important birthday announcement.
You can be part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. You can get special deals from local businesses. So go to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Hey, for those of you that remember, shortly after Christmas, we were talking about that story about all those package thefts that were happening down in Oklahoma. Just kind of reminding people, hey, if you don't have all your Christmas gifts yet, well, we may know where they are. Well, get this. How about thousands of packages found in Los Angeles that were stolen as well? Look at that absolute disaster. So once again, if you're still looking for a package for Christmas, we may have an answer. All that and more when we flip on over to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Be back right after this.
At Hardee's, there's so...
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Police in Pittsburgh and the Crawford County Sheriff's Office worked together to arrest a Pittsburgh man who led officers on a chase. Authorities say officers spotted 27-year-old Sage Sprague in a car on East 21st Street and knew he had multiple outstanding warrants. When officers tried to pull the car over, the car sped away. The chase went through Pittsburgh, then left the city, which is when a sheriff's deputy joined in. Then went back into Pittsburgh before Sprague's car hit a deputy vehicle. The chase stopped a short time later and authorities arrested Sprague. A Nevada, Missouri business owner admits failing to pay taxes on nearly $1.5 million of income. 53-year-old Kevin Morrow pleads guilty to filing a false tax return. Morrow omitted nearly $1.5 million in income from the federal income tax returns he filed from 2014 through 2016. During that time, Morrow operated Morrow Show Steers, a cattle sale business. Under federal statutes, Morrow could get up to 3 years in federal prison without parole. The Parsons, Kansas Police Department is making changes to its protocols for the next month. When it comes to cold calls and crimes against property without evidence, officers will now take those reports over the phone when possible, rather than in person. Also, VIN inspections and fingerprinting for licensing are suspended for the next 30 days. Officials say the changes are a result of rising COVID cases within the department. People in Joplin had a chance to responsibly enjoy a beer and responsibly adopt a pet for free. The Chaos Brewing Company on South Main Street called the event Bark Brew. Chaos invited some pets from the Joplin Humane Society, covered the $10 adoption fee, and also offered a free beer. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Not a whole lot of sunshine when we head out the door with our mostly cloudy skies, but temperatures right now above the freezing mark and eventually making it up into the mid-50s. So we will take that for a January day, and tell you what, after what was an abnormally warm week, we know Mother Nature's got a way to even things out. Maybe that's why we've got a winter weather advisory all the way until Saturday evening for our counties in purple. The counties in white signifying not only the winter weather advisory, but also a wind advisory for today. After, say 7, 8 o'clock, we begin with rain up to the northwest. Transition that into snow after midnight, especially for the eastern part of southwest Missouri, and the snow will persist all the way really into Saturday afternoon. A little bit of a wet snow as well. Accumulation number is going to be anywhere from an inch out to the west, anywhere from 3 to 4 inches the farther east that you push. And watch it refreeze because Saturday into Sunday we're down into the teens.
All right, and coming up today at noon, we're making streusel topped coffee cake in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
NFL playoffs kick off this weekend. Ahead on CBS Mornings, Nate Burleson. He may know something about playing a little NFL football. He previews Sunday's kid-friendly NFC wildcard game on Nickelodeon. Nate, football, and there's going to be slime.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we talk about what game is coming to PC and what games are coming to console. Plus, a member of Iron Maiden goes on a spoken word tour.
Did not see that one coming. That was good. Thank you all for joining us. Hey, be safe out there tomorrow. Be safe all weekend. We'll do this all again on Monday morning.